Alita Battle Angel. So this movie, of course, has been in the works for years. James Cameron was obviously the mastermind behind trying to bring this to the American audiences. Alita is, of course, based on the manga called Gundam or whatever. Gundam. Yeah, Gunnmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Or Battle Angel Alita.
Battle Angel Alita. Mm-hmm. So, to give a little context of our views on this, I don't think either one of us have read the manga, am I right?
You're correct.
Okay, and you haven't seen the anime either?
Yes.
Neither have I. So I went into this pretty fresh, but I'm always, open to see more types of material getting adapted. As I had strong hopes for Ghost in the Shell, I had kind of middle hopes for this, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't have much stake in this.
It was one of those things where I wasn't really sure I wanted to see it from the first trailer. And this is one of those few times where I did need to see more. Mm-hmm. So I saw more, and then I saw more again.
Same here.
And I think I can summarize this movie really simply by putting it this way. This movie was fantastic, above and beyond, in terms of action. Mm-hmm. Story was a bit flimsy.
Yes.
Alita I really liked as a character. Mm-hmm. And Mahershala Ali's character was cool. Jennifer Connelly worked. But then all the other human characters kind of sucked and seemed like they're expendable, like Nickelodeon show characters.
Yeah, specifically like the friend characters.
What's the main, like the boyfriend guy? Because I felt like he didn't matter and I didn't care about him.
His name is, I remember his name is Hugo. Keon Johnson is how you pronounce it?
Whatever, Hugo.
Keean. I don't know how you pronounce that.
Her whole thing with Hugo was whatever.
It's
weird how many parallels this had to Aquaman.
Yeah.
And I guess spoilers for how I feel about this for scores. Because this mirrored Aquaman in so many ways in terms of how I felt about it as a story and as a spectacle, mm-hmm. I'm adjusting my Aquaman score to be continued on what that is. But back to that. This movie's story is kind of all over the place.
Right.
But in a weird way, it does manage, I guess at the end, it does have a point. It doesn't get completely lost, mm-hmm. but it just felt almost episodic in a way. Like, have you ever seen the MASH movie?
Yeah.
That it's much more clear. It's like it's basically 3 episodes packaged together as like a long pilot, essentially.
Right.
This kind of had that feeling where there's developments that kind of went from one place to another, mm-hmm. but there was the overarching theme, which is we're in the shitty Iron City. We got to get up there to the city in the sky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with you there. This felt like a clip show of season 1 of an anime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's actually kind of weird you say that. Is I felt like this could be obviously it's based off a manga and anime. It very much felt like this episode, the rollerblade episode, mm-hmm. the tryout episode, like all that stuff.
The hunting down rogue.
The bounty
robot.
hunter episode.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I will say is my biggest problem with a lot of anime adaptations recently, and I'm in no position to speak on it because I'm not by any like stretch of the word into anime as much as others are, but from what I could tell, a lot of the people who've been doing it, who've been adapting anime into films, they were missing a little bit of passion. Like, as much as I loved how Ghost in the Shell looked,
right,
the movie, and all of that, just was missing something story-wise. It didn't feel like they cared.
The script
enough.
Really felt like they didn't give a shit.
Right. And while I agree that this isn't perfect and the story is not perfect at all, I feel a genuine passion on the part of James Cameron, Robert Rodriguez, and the other people involved in this. John Landau, I think, is one of the producers. Yeah. I actually felt like, oh, okay, so they get it. Because I would say in terms of adapting anime to Western audiences, this is, of the movies I've seen, this is the most accurate in terms of like bringing a lot of Eastern style storytelling techniques and like tropes to Western audiences. Like,
right.
This brought a lot. Like, there's so many scenes of like, oh, that's like totally how the anime would have done it. And I haven't seen the anime. Or like, there's a scene where like Alita's like sitting on her bed and like she has like an echoey inner monologue going on, and like there's a scene where like, I mean, this is kind of not really a spoiler, but it's a visual where like she cries, then she cuts her tear in half and the 2 tears hit the ground. I'm like, that's the most anime thing I've ever fucking seen.
Sure is, Billy. It sure is.
So there's a lot of that in here. It's like, okay, you gave a shit. So while I didn't think this movie was perfect, I definitely think it's a big step forward for the future of anime adaptations.
See, that's kind of what I was going to say, is I felt like this was a gigantic step forward because, yeah, there were some, like, I guess minor issues, but it looked really damn good and it was entertaining as all hell.
Yes.
And the main thing they did do right is they got the main character down perfectly.
I agree.
And I
think Rosa Salazar is really good.
Yes, I think Rosa Salazar nails it. And I don't know how true it is to the original Alita, but as a character, you really liked Alita, and you were rooting for her.
Yeah, you got a real sense of idealism in her, where she's very naive, but she's also very strong in those ideals that she holds very dear to her.
Right. And she's tenacious and all that shit.
Yeah, man.
So that's kind of what I think is the biggest difference between this and Ghost in the Shell, where Scarlett Johansson's performance as Major Kusanagi kind of felt
whatever.
half and half.
Yeah.
This, you got a very strong sense of Alita as a character. Mm-hmm. And with that strong sense of character came a lot of beating the shit out of other robots.
Yeah, a lot of them.
I keep bringing up Aquaman. So Aquaman's whole thing is this underwater shit. You've never seen anything like this. This was like, yeah, maybe this had the like rollerball scenes.
Yeah.
But you haven't seen them like this.
No.
Where you have this weird mix of technology, martial arts, and robotics all together at once.
Yeah.
That was really neat. And the fight scenes in this were incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, really, really good choreography. And what I liked is how she has that weird style. I don't know what the fuck it's called. But they have like a made-up martial art that the robots do.
Okay.
But I like that because you're putting in an effort to do something different. You're not like, oh yeah, let's just do the standard wushu taekwondo hybrid like fight scene that most people try and do.
Right.
This is like, how are we going to make this completely different than everything you've seen so far?
Yeah.
And to me, the action was so good. So fucking on point. And her character was so strong that I was able to forgive a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I realize that's kind of crazy how much I'm willing to forgive. But I'll say this. If those things weren't so strong, the things that kind of were problems would have mattered a lot more.
I agree. And I think that I probably overlooked a little bit less, but I agree with you where there was a point in this movie where I'm like, all right, Robert, what kind of movie did you come here to watch? You know, like, did you come here to watch a real smart, like, East meets West type of blockbuster, or is this more of a Western type blockbuster? Who's directing this, Robert? Is this Robert Rodriguez making this, or is this a fucking, is this a David Fincher or a Christopher Nolan movie?
Yeah.
Not to disparage Robert Rodriguez, but he's gone on record many times in saying that, like, he's making movies that are fun. You know, he wants to make movies that are, like, badass. And this is a very badass film. And, like, oh man, the fight scenes are really, really dope. Like, really good.
No, I hear you. There was one thing, though. I think it was a little long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what I feel like these studios, they have this quota idea. Mm-hmm. You can make a blockbuster or an action movie, you know, hour 50, hour 40. It doesn't have to be 2 hours. Mm-hmm. I thought there's a little, because at the beginning, the first half, it really goes fast.
Yeah.
And I was really, really on board. And then it starts to lull just a little bit, especially towards the end. Mm-hmm. And I guess there's no, okay, we won't give it away entirely, but I'm going to say this, and I guess this is minor spoiler. This movie doesn't exactly have an ending.
No, and that's kind of an issue, in my eyes, because it's like, you know how, like, Batman Begins was an origin story?
Right.
But it was also, like, something big went down, like Gotham was almost fucking destroyed.
Yeah.
This is, like, just an origin story. Like, the net outcome of what goes wrong in this is small. So,
yeah, that's kind of my thing. You know, it's kind of, it reminded me of also Mile 22. See, but this is what I'm saying. Because everything was so standout that was good, I was willing to forgive the fact that this movie basically isn't fucking over. It's like, to be continued? Not like this main thing's resolved. Now, but there's more, like a post-credit scene. This is, nope, we're not even fucking finished here. Which I think is like,
it's ballsy.
It's ballsy, and it's kind of, to me, it's sort of you've got some fucking nerve.
Yeah, a little bit.
But unlike Mile 22, where Mile 22 really pisses me off because it's such a cocky thing. Like, yeah, we know you want more of this movie. No, I don't. This movie sucked dick. This one, I say more, you know what, fuck you. But I do want more.
Yeah.
It's like, you got me. You're right, but still fuck you.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I agree. And I think overall looks really good. Very much like Aquaman. Looks really, really good.
Yeah.
Fight scenes, holy God. The action, oh man. The world, Jesus.
Story, the love story, boo.
Love story, nah, no good.
A lot of this, like Aquaman, some side characters,
the plot overall,
well, I don't know, because it's like, it didn't really matter, because, in a weird way, I know we keep just comparing it's like this, it's like that. It's almost felt like one of those, like, John Linklater or Richard Linklater movies where it's like, this is the 70s and shit just happens. This is like, this is Iron City.
63.
Yeah. This is 3,000 years in the future and shit just happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very atypical in terms of structure, in terms of tone. Like, I felt like, for me, the first, 20 minutes, I was like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, where's
I
this
liked
going?
the first 20 minutes.
I liked it, but, they start doing some stuff with, oh, man, some of the dialogue, too, I'm like, all right, let's go.
Just like Aquaman.
There you go. But
some of the dialogue definitely missed.
I felt like once, for me, I don't know why, the second half was super effective in at least being like, oh, okay, cool, there are stakes. So, people can die, and also, someone's chasing after you, and, we know that there's a big bad, and he's sort of revealing himself, and there's a culmination, and the culmination scene is pretty fucking good, even though I won't get into it, but it's good. There's some great cameos, too.
There's a lot of cool stuff. Also, the Alita, eyes and stuff. After a while, it just didn't bother me. I didn't think much of it.
You know what's weird is it actually bothered me less than the actual Aitza Gonzalez and Ed Skrein face tracking metal bodies. Some of that looked very weird. A little tiptoeing into Uncanny Valley territory. I'm like, what is this?
I thought for the most part it looked fine. In fact, I thought most of it looked above and beyond.
Next time we watch it, when you watch it again, watch Aitza Gonzalez's face during the fight scene.
Okay.
With Alita. It's a little weird, but it's the fight scene. Yeah. I was like, this is just dope, so I'm not going to even look at his face.
Okay, the point is, I think we can wrap up this review overall by saying this tried to be its action tried to be a different type of action, just like Aquaman.
Yeah.
It had a few problems, just like Aquaman. So I will give this a 3.5 out of 5 as my score, and now that I'll adjust it, just like Aquaman.
Yeah. I will conclude by saying this went from being a movie that I had barely any interest in to being a movie I ended up seeing and enjoying just fine. I think it's a really, really good time. It's not much food for thought, but Jesus, is it food for the eyes?
All right.
I had a real good time. Probably a 6.5.
Oh, how dare you?
That's 0.5 below you.
Just give it a 7.
It's not a 7.
This movie needs all the help it can get.
I know.
Well, I mean, it's
doing okay. Doing decent.
So I think overall this is a step in the right direction. So that will do it for our review of Alita: Battle Angel.